Peter, you gotta come listen to this. This is a new episode of the GBG Gaming Podcast, and I'm really excited to listen to it. You gotta listen to it, Peter. It's really good. I went poopy. Oh, that was terrible. I'm trying so hard to do an impression of Joe Swanson from Family Guy, and it's not going well. However, if this is your first time here, then welcome to the GB Gaming Podcast. This is Dave, your host, talking to you on GB Gaming, where video games come first. And we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy, the Definitive Edition. Once again, I promise you this might be the last time. PlayStation to change their subscription model, Resident Evil 4 getting a remake, the Game Awards, and Bioshock. All of this here on episode 21 of the GB Gaming Podcast. This is the 5th of December 2021. Let's go.
Think of how else he's gonna help our community. I really like it. That's nasty.
I think that was better. I think I do a better Cleveland than I do a Joe. I can't do a Peter.
Yeah.
God, that was fucking
horrendous, Peter. Ah, Peter.
Yes. Let's get this episode underway. Fuck. Oh, I feel like I'm so close, but yet so far. Right, I'm wasting time. Let's get to the first topic of this episode. And it looks like Resident Evil 4 is in the news lately, specifically in the form of leaks. Resident Evil 4 Remake has been a rumoured project for the best part of, I want to say, maybe 2 years, maybe less, I'm not sure, but the voice actor for Albert Wesker, going by the name of D.C. Douglas, has recently revealed a new detail regarding a Resident Evil 4 remake. And I'm pulling this from GameRant.com. And I'm going to try and see if I can get to the meaty part. Okay, so here we go. Resident Evil 4 is one of the most popular video games ever made, with Capcom porting it to nearly every system imaginable. Just recently, Capcom released Resident Evil 4 VR for Oculus Quest 2, successfully translating Leon's adventure to the virtual reality space and earning rave reviews in the process. Rumours persist that a full-blown Resident Evil 4 remake is next up, and now some of the most damning evidence of it has leaked online. Albert Wesker voice actor D.C. Douglas has allegedly broken his NDA and leaked concept art of how the character will appear in the Resident Evil 4 remake. Twitter account Beware Creepy VAs shared a screenshot of the art online, which supposedly shows Wesker as he will appear in the Resident Evil 4 remake's take on the Separate Ways side content. According to Beware Creepy VAs, Douglas shared the concept art with multiple fans. One screenshot allegedly shows Douglas sharing the Wesker concept art and saying, "Again, do not share, I could get sued." Douglas has since deleted his Twitter account. So, it goes without saying at this point that Resident Evil 4 will be getting the remake treatment. I'm assuming it will be in the vein of the likes of Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, or at the very least, I hope it is. Now, I love Resident Evil 4 as much as the next Resident Evil fan. It's a fantastic game, and I want to say it's aged well, but that would be my nostalgia talking and taking over. The truth of the matter is that for any newcomers to the Resident Evil franchise, nobody really wants to play the way that Resident Evil 4 essentially tells the player to play. By that, I mean it's a little bit stiff. The tank control aspect that was in the original trilogy is still kind of here in Resident Evil 4, in that you can't move and aim. That's just not possible. In order to fire your weapon at an enemy in Resident Evil 4, you have to stop and then aim, and basically just aim the gun in hopes that you'll get a headshot or whatever. Like, you know, you cannot move and aim. You can only stop and aim. And that's the way Resident Evil 4 was, and it's the way Resident Evil 5 was. Resident Evil 6 kind of fixed all that, in a way. Now, I'm not saying fixed, I'm not saying that gameplay element was broken. It was entirely deliberate, and it was very much appreciated. I appreciate it. I'm very happy with the way that game plays. It doesn't bother me. But with modern expectations and the way games are made nowadays, you kind of hope that maybe they'll be able to upgrade the way Resident Evil 4 will play. And I'm assuming that the Resident Evil 4 remake, which appears to be now in full development, it'll play just like Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 when those were remade. And that's all I would ask for, really. That and the amazing visual work that is done with Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, and I suppose Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil Village. You can be damn sure that if Resident Evil 4 is going to be made on the same engine, using the same artwork, it's going to look stunning. And I would be looking forward to this a hell of a lot. I can go back and play Resident Evil 4 fine, but at the same time I'm thinking, I just wish I could play this with modern conveniences. And I hope that that's what we're going to get with this Resident Evil 4 remake. In fact, I'm nearly sure of it. So, this leak of Albert Wesker from Resident Evil 4, it looks like a sure thing. Because nobody would go through this level of artistic design with screenshots or photographs of someone wearing the same outfit. You know, what I'm looking at here is a concept art piece of Albert Wesker from Resident Evil 4 with 2 photos of someone wearing the same outfit. See how it would look in the game. You're not going to go through that amount of effort if it wasn't a sure thing. And I'm pretty sure it's a sure thing at this point. You know, and I think up as far as Resident Evil 5, I think we might just get remakes of these games, because Resident Evil 1 got a remake. Resident Evil 2 got a remake. 3 got a remake. 4 seems to be getting a remake. Could they remake 5? Will they remake 5? That remains to be seen. We'll see how well Resident Evil 4 does. I guess it'll probably do extremely well, given the fan base that it's got, and it's probably, arguably, the most popular Resident Evil game in the franchise. I could be wrong about that. I don't think I am, but I'm probably... I could be. But I hope it's true. I think it is. And that is just fantastic news for any Resident Evil fan out there. We've always wanted, I think, a Resident Evil 4 remake for a good while now. And this seems to solidify the idea, considering the fact that DC Douglas, the voice of Albert Wesker, has deleted his Twitter account. And he has broken some NDA. So, here we go, I guess. Let's go. On to the next section, and that is Bioshock. New Bioshock. Imminent? Who knows? A new title in the Bioshock series has been leaked. Or a new installment at least has been leaked. Bioshock Isolation, which appears to be a working title, has a new logo. Set in a new-to-franchise isolated dystopian city, Unreal Engine 5. Developed by Irrational Games veterans and people who worked on Watch Dogs Legion, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Mafia 3, and Deus Ex. Whatever MD stands for. Like, I pulled that from Twitter from a page called Oops Leaks. So, that was pulled from there. Curious to see if it'll take place after the events of Bioshock Infinite. Is it a reboot? Is it a prequel? Despite beating all 3 of these games in the Bioshock trilogy, I don't remember much of the story. So, if this ends up being a sequel, I'm going to have to either go back and play through that trilogy again, or look up a recap video. Either way, I'm happy they've decided to resurrect this series if this leak is indeed true. I just hope that it's not a live service game or some terrible spin-off, though I have found out some new details on the possible plot and setting of this next Bioshock game. And I'm pulling this from Eurogamer.net, and it says, to date, the Bioshock series has taken players deep beneath the ocean circa the 1960s, high into the clouds in 1912, not to mention a multitude of lighthouses spanning possibly all of space and time and everything in between. And now, a new report has seemingly revealed where the next entry in the acclaimed FPS saga will be leading us next. As spotted by VGC, journalist Colin Moriarty relayed a fresh detail on 2K Games' next Bioshock project, previously confirmed to be in development at new studio Cloud Chamber as part of his latest Sacred Symbols video. In the video, Moriarty cites sources claiming Cloud Chamber's take on Bioshock will unfold in a fictional Antarctic city sometime during the 1960s, which Eurogamer also understands to be true from its own sources. This, of course, would make its events approximately concurrent with those of Bioshock 1 and 2, which dealt with the downfall of Andrew Ryan's underwater dystopia of Rapture. Moriarty believes the new Bioshock city will be called Borealis, and that the game's narrative will connect to previous entries. Moriarty adds that Cloud Chamber has been given incredible latitude to get the new Bioshock right. Apparently the inclination there is that they understand full well that this game will be compared to what the original Bioshock creator Ken Levine does. And on the subject of Levine, whose last major game was Bioshock Infinite in 2013, Moriarty claims Take-Two will also be publishing his next project, currently in the works at Ghost Story Games. Little is officially known about either project just yet, however. Announcing the founding of Ghost Story in 2017, Levine described the studio's first endeavour as a new, immersive sci-fi game with RPG elements, while 2K has remained largely tight-lipped about Bioshock 4, confirmed to be in development back in 2019, only revealing its codename Parkside. At the time, Parkside was described as still being several years away from release, so there may be some way to go before Cloud Chamber and 2K are ready to share more. This is very interesting. We've been wanting a new Bioshock game for the longest time now. It's been, 8 years since the last one? So I know I said earlier on that I played through this trilogy, but I don't remember much of the story. I kind of played through them really quick. And I remember really enjoying Bioshock 1 and really enjoying Bioshock 2, but not enjoying Bioshock 3 nearly as much. That doesn't mean to say that Bioshock 3 or Bioshock Infinite is bad. I just didn't connect to any of it as much as I did to Bioshock 1 and 2. I very much remember lots of Bioshock 1, but I don't remember much of Bioshock 2, and I barely remember much of Bioshock Infinite. So I'm going to probably have to go back and play those 3 games again if this next game ends up being a sequel. Considering it's set in the 1960s, then I'm pretty sure it's going to be around the times of Bioshock 1 and 2. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But I'm really excited to see more of this game series. I think even though it's popular, I don't think it's appreciated enough. I know it's popular, but I just don't think the games get the love they deserve, even though they are very loved. I just think they should be loved even more, if you get what I'm saying. They are very much underappreciated. These games should be legendary, but only the first game is legendary. The other 2, not so much. That needs to change. So I hope that this new Bioshock game, be it a reboot or a sequel or an interquel or whatever it is, I hope that it's as good as at least the first one. So if we can get to that level, we'll be perfectly fine. So I'm excited for it. I hope it's true. I hope that they're working on it. And who knows, maybe it'll get revealed at the Game Awards. Who knows? We'll see. Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy, the Definitive Edition. Yes, this is the 3rd episode in a row that I'm talking about this, and no, it's not going to go away, because it's out. It's been out for at least a couple of weeks now at this stage. And the short of it is, I'm enjoying it, but it needs a lot of work. But you know I'm going to give you the long version anyway, so here we go. Let's take a deep dive. So the trilogy of Grand Theft Auto, that being Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, is finally here. It's been here since the 11th of November, which means it's been about 2 weeks minimum that it's been out, I think. And it's a mess. It's a bit of a mess. And it's almost exactly how I feared it would be. Now, I'm going to briefly mention something that I mentioned a couple of episodes ago, where I said that finding out that Grove Street Games were the developer and not Rockstar Dundee, as many people thought, knowing that those people were the developer, I was starting to get a little bit skeptical, because I knew that those people were the same people that created the San Andreas Xbox 360 version, which ended up being a port of a mobile version of the same game, which was released for its 10-year anniversary in 2014. That was a broken piece of shite, to put it plainly, and it got horrible reviews, it got horrible feedback, nobody liked it, it never got fixed, it has never been patched, and if it was, they didn't do a good enough job to it. So the 360 version of San Andreas was notorious for being the worst way, probably, to play that game. And it's looking like they've repeated the same problem with this definitive trilogy. And I say that in quotation marks. And I'm disappointed. I am disappointed. And I'm not going to hate on it nearly as much as everyone else, because I still to this day have faith that something will get fixed, and I'm a very optimistic person. You know, I hoped the same thing for No Man's Sky. Now, granted, that was a completely different scenario where the developer seemingly flat out lied about features that were going to be in the game, and they just released to none of that. And I still, even though I gave it a bad review on my first impressions video from that time when it released, I remember saying to myself, I have faith that No Man's Sky will become what it has set out to be. And fast forward about 5-6 years later, and it has very much become that and then some. I mean, there's probably one or two things that still haven't made its way into the game, but all is forgiven considering everything else that's there. That game is ridiculous. It's the biggest the biggest 180 I've ever seen in video game history, in that a game is released to horrible reviews, or at the very least mediocre, and just no faith whatsoever, has just turned it around, and it's amazing. The game is worth the $50-$60 price tag, and even then, the game is still selling well. Like, the game is not cheap. Even used, it's not cheap. You can get that game for about 30-40 quid. That's quite pricey for a game of that age. And I think it's indicative of what happens when you stick to your promise, and even though it took 5 or 6 years, it's indicative of sticking to your promise, showing people that you are capable of bringing to the table what you said you were going to bring, even if it took 5 or 6 years. It doesn't matter anymore. You stuck to what you said you were going to do, and as a result, the product you have delivered is perfect. Almost completely perfect. At least. And I struggle to dive into No Man's Sky nowadays. Not because I don't like it. It couldn't be further from the truth. No Man's Sky, I struggle to get into that game because of how deep and vast that game has become. And I appreciate that. I appreciate a company that can sell me a game that's so big it's overwhelming. It's not off-putting, it's just, I need to find the time to sink into that game, and I don't know if I'll ever find that time. You know, I mean, during lockdown, I definitely did find some portion of that time to dive into it. And I definitely did. I mean, God knows, during a certain point of time when my father passed away, I said I would start playing No Man's Sky just to zone off for a while. All of that just before Death Stranding came out. And I recorded a good few pieces of footage for that. And that game is just the best one. Now, where am I going with this? I know, I apologise, I'm going off on a tangent, as I usually do. The point I'm trying to make is that that's the most optimistic I could possibly be for the GTA trilogy. But is it realistic? Going by Grove Street Games history, no. Absolutely not. I don't think that game, that trilogy, will ever get the treatment it deserves in years to come. I don't even think it's going to be fixed fully. I mean, I hope to God it is. I really do, because I mean, the bugs that people are reporting, if it's any consolation, it is the same bugs. I'm seeing the same bugs being shown all the time. You know, character models looking a bit wonky, collision bugs, and like these are mostly San Andreas bugs, but Vice City and GTA 3 are not innocent in this either. They're not safe from criticism either, because those games have their own share of bugs. Now, I've seen footage of these bugs on YouTube, right? That's how I know that there's bugs in this game. People sharing them on Reddit. That's how I know that there are bugs in these games. Have I experienced the same level of bugs? No, I have not. That doesn't mean they don't exist. That doesn't mean that they are not without criticism. It doesn't mean that they should be let away with the issues that they have lent these games. These games are not the way they should be. They are not the same games that were released in 2001, 2002, and 2004 respectively. Those games were polished for the most part. Yes, there were bugs. Yes, there were little glitches within those three games, but all was forgiven because they weren't game breaking, and considering the size of these games, you'd forgive it. For the most part, these games were 90% playable and enjoyable. There was nothing about those games that were game breaking, to my knowledge, but I have noticed a lot of people complaining about several glitches and bugs in these games, some of which could be regarded as game breaking. Now, like I said, once I found out that Grove Street Games was known as the developer, I was skeptical. And there has so far, as of this episode, been one patch released for this game, or maybe two, but one patch post-launch. And it was supposed to fix most of the issues that people were complaining about, or at least those cosmetic glitches, those stupid glitches that should be easy to fix, texture bugs, all that shit. As far as I'm concerned, from what I've seen, they have not been fixed. Because people are still complaining about the same things that were there pre-patch and post-patch. The patch notes stating that those issues were fixed, they have not been fixed. The rain that was apparently fixed in San Andreas still looks awful across all three games. And that's not good enough. The invisible bridges disappearing on GTA San Andreas, they said on the patch notes that was fixed. People are still showing footage of that bridge still missing. Stupid little glitches like that should be easy to fix, but they haven't fixed it. And if it's stupid little things like that they haven't fixed, I worry for the state of other major bugs in the game. Other major issues, bigger issues, game-breaking issues that they haven't fixed. People are comparing this to the launch of Cyberpunk. I have no context for this because I've never played Cyberpunk. I didn't play Cyberpunk because of the mess that was reported on launch. People have reported to me that it's not as bad as everyone makes it out to be. People are just looking for problems, or they find problems and they make a big deal about it. Be that as it may, it's performance I worry about, and I heard that the performance of Cyberpunk is not great, especially on last generation consoles. And it is for that reason I am still on the fence about buying Cyberpunk in the state that it's in, even though there has been reports of people playing the game now, and it has been fixed, it has been patched, it is in a playable state, but I didn't get as far as to see what console these people are playing the game on. Are they playing it on PS4 and Xbox One X, or are they playing it on Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5? I don't know. You know, the PC version, has that been fixed? I don't know. You know, I'm still just kind of waiting for the reports of Cyberpunk to be that the game is better, and maybe it is. I don't know. But how long did that take to become better? It's almost been a year since Cyberpunk came out, and it's took this long for the game to even become a playable state. Am I right? To become a playable state to a degree that it's not interrupting your time or your fun. That varies person to person. I'm the type of person that if I do see a bug that is repeated, I do notice it, and it does sort of take me out of it. And it would bother me. And if it ends up interrupting my game to the point, or my enjoyment to the point where it maybe bugs out, freezes, crashes, then yes, that would be a problem. I would probably step away and come back when it's fixed. Other people, there's a couple of friends I know that have said that it's not even that bad. I enjoyed my time with it. If you just sit down and play it for what it is, you'll be fine. I applaud that, and I'm very much envious of that attitude. I wish I was like that. Unfortunately, I can't bring myself to be like that. If I do notice a problem, it'll stand out like a sore thumb. And that's the problem I'm having with this Grand Theft Auto trilogy, particularly in Vice City. Now, I'm going to mention that my Grand Theft Auto 3 experience was relatively fine. I experienced little glaring issues, save for maybe a small few, but none of them were game-breaking. Like invisible barriers, you know, invisible fences, invisible walls, invisible barriers, invisible stupid things that should be rendered in, but they didn't. And that interrupts the game a small bit. It's like, the best example I can give is, there is this hospital in Grand Theft Auto 3. And if you've played Grand Theft Auto 3, you'll know I'm talking about the hospital in Staunton Island, the second island that you unlock, or the first island you unlock. You know, the middle island. The hospital there is in this big car park that you can drive through. If you're doing ambulance missions, you're going to be driving through this car park a lot. And in this car park, there are barriers. You know, these bronze metal barriers, and these barriers are everywhere in the game, but these ones stand out like a sore thumb to me for this very reason. Is I would be trying to drive in between barriers, and it should work, because there's nothing there. I should be able to drive through it. And for some strange reason, the game decides, there is a barrier here, you're going to crash into it. Except there's not. The mesh is there, but the model isn't. Like, I think I'm making sense there. There is collision where there shouldn't be. And it's all because the mesh is misplaced, and the model is misplaced, and they're not, you know, stupid things like that. And it got to a point where I was driving on the third island in the game, Shoreside Vale as it's called, and there is a street or a block in that island, in the main town area of that island, that's full of those barricades on either side of the road. Now, when you're driving fast, or when you're doing some chase mission and you're trying to get to somewhere on the clock, and you're trying to cut through traffic or go on the pavement, or you're trying to weave in and out, and those barriers can be a problem when the collision isn't there, or when the collision is misplaced. That's a problem. But it didn't happen a lot. It just happened a couple of times. But it didn't go away. It's just I was able to avoid it easy. But that's one of the small issues that I had with GTA 3. Another issue was like low frame rate during large gunfights and chaotic scenes in general. This issue, I would imagine, is spanning across all three games. But it discourages you from even trying to have a bit of fun in that game. If you want to have a big riot with the police, or you want to go on some sort of rampage, and you want to go on a killing spree or whatever, you should be able to do that. And for all intents and purposes, when Grand Theft Auto 3 first came out, that was the selling point, really. The selling point wasn't doing the missions. God knows that's definitely something you would have to do to unlock more things. But the main push for Grand Theft Auto 3, and I suppose previous Grand Theft Auto titles before it, was the ability to do what you want. Cause chaos if you want. Drive where you want. And just have fun. That was the major selling point to Grand Theft Auto, and the massive selling point to Grand Theft Auto 3, because it was this first title in the series to have a fully open 3D environment. You're encouraged to go nuts. And the definitive edition of all three of those games doesn't allow you to do that in any fun way. If I want to go on a rampage in Grand Theft Auto 3 Vice City or San Andreas, I can't really do it. Because the game slows down to a crawl and it becomes this situation where it's like, we're not in 2001 anymore. Games shouldn't be going this choppy, especially on console. Do you know what? Like, it's not a PS2 I'm playing this on. And even then, the ironic thing is that the PS2 didn't have this much slowdown during this game if you were going through massive situations where you were going on a killing spree and going mental. It never slowed down. But with this one, it is. And it confused me. So that was a disappointment. But nothing else was a problem. Like, I was able to play Grand Theft Auto 3 90% of the time without issues. Nothing crashed. Nothing was out of place, really. You know, those issues were avoidable for the most part. I don't play Grand Theft Auto 3 to go on a rampage. I can do that on Grand Theft Auto 5 if I want to, because it's just better gameplay-wise. I play Grand Theft Auto 3 because I'm a completionist for it, and I've played it so many times that I know the game inside out. I can have that game beaten in a full day if I wanted to, but obviously that's not going to happen because of certain, you know, like real-life things. You just can't do that. So I can play Grand Theft Auto 3 for the most part blind. And that's how I play Grand Theft Auto 3 in Vice City, at least. I play it to beat it. I play it to complete it. I like to play it to get 100% and say, beat the game, got all the collectibles, done. I love collecting things in games. And Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City allows you to do that at a very respectable length of time. And I was able to do that on Grand Theft Auto 3 without major issues. So I was happy, at least, that the issues that people were experiencing on Grand Theft Auto 3 didn't echo my experiences. I'm not saying I'm not there, but it was fine for me for the most part. Stupid little other things in the game that was like, come on, you need to fix this. Is like some gang members wearing the wrong clothes. Like the not the triads, the other one. The Yakuza. Now, so I'm going to assume that if you've played Grand Theft Auto 3, you know who all the gangs are. You've got the Diablo, you've got the Yakuza, you've got the Triads, you've got the Mafia, you've got the Colombian Cartel, you've got the Southside Hoods, you've got the Yardies. You know, the Southside Hoods represent some sort of a parody of the Bloods and Crips in a way. You know, because there's two versions of those gangs. You've got, you know, and they all have their quirks, they all have their look. The Diablos, they wear jackets with their logo at the back with a headband, or whatever you call it. Well, I don't know what you call it again. Like a scarf, you know, one of them. And the Yakuza, they dress slick. Suits, shirts, buttoned open. You know, they all have their look. The point I'm trying to make is that the Yakuza and the Definitive Edition in Grand Theft Auto 3, they do wear the slick jackets and whatnot, but for some strange reason, the logo of the Diablos appears on the back of some members of the Yakuza. A stupid visual bug that they clearly overlooked. Doesn't make any sense. How did they mess that up? I have no idea. But stupid little things like that. I noticed them. They were a little bit taking me out of the immersion, but for the most part, they were neglectful. They didn't bother me too much. So Grand Theft Auto 3 was fine for the most part. And then I got into Vice City. Now, Grand Theft Auto 3 took me about a week, with all the real-life things that I had in between. Grand Theft Auto 3 took me a week to beat. There was about 50 hours in total, maybe less, but roughly. You know? And then I went on to Vice City. And the short of that is that Vice City has been slightly more problematic by comparison. For the most part, the issues that were in Grand Theft Auto 3 remain in Vice City. You know, the collision problems, the stupid low frame rate when having gunfights, the aiming with the gun in GTA 3 and Vice City alike is a little bit awkward for me personally. Like, I don't know what they've done there. They've kind of just made it more awkward than it was in the original games. You know, I had a way of playing Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City I just can't play it like that anymore on this. So I have to kind of change the way I play. But regardless of that, other issues in Vice City that appear to be unique to Vice City, for me at least, is policemen teleporting to my car to bust me. The first time I seen that, now I saw footage of that happening for people on YouTube, and I thought, this is probably going to be one of those things that I will not experience. But for fuck's sake, it did. I did experience it. A policeman teleported. It's like, not so much teleport, it's like he floated to my car. Like, he was meant to open that door and arrest me. Like, he was scripted to open that door and arrest me, and it was bullshit. I was really annoyed by that. Now, I got over it after whatever, like, it hasn't happened since, and I hope it fucking doesn't. And other stupid issues that is taking me out of the game, that is semi-ruining it, is a very specific issue that appears to only happen on Vice City, and it's a video memory bug. And it only seems to happen on Vice City, for some reason. And it's happening on the Xbox One version for me. Now, I'm going to Google it just to see if I can get a rough description on what it is, because I took a screenshot of it and I posted it on Reddit, but Reddit took it down. Why? I have no idea. I think it was due to the fact that I took a photo of it with my phone and it wasn't a screenshot. And you can't take screenshots of the Xbox's UI. You just can't do it. So I couldn't take a screenshot and post it, so whatever. But this is an issue that happened on the PC version back in 2004, when basically if you had incompatible hardware, that's what would happen. But this is happening on the Definitive Edition on consoles. This shouldn't happen. I'm trying to look for the screenshot of it, and it's really bugging me that I can't find it. Now, I do have a photo of it somewhere. I'm going to look for it. Something of video memory. Here we go. So, this happened 3 times for me. 2 occasions going in and out of the North Point Mall in Vice City, which is north of the first island. And the first time it happened, I entered the mall, and then the black screen, nothing else happened. And then I got a message on my Xbox telling me, error. Out of video memory trying to allocate a texture. Make sure your video card has the minimum required memory. Try lowering the resolution and or closing other applications that are running, exiting. And then the second you press OK, the game quits out to the dashboard. And you have to reboot the game. Now, if this was on the original version, with all the original quirks, and all the 2002 shite that was in it, I would have been even more angry. Because, at the very least, if there's any consolation to this shit, is that Vice City has an autosave system. And it only seems to happen, and only seems to kick in after you finish a mission. Or a side mission. The autosave will kick in. So at the very least, it wouldn't have to go back to the last time I manually saved. But it doesn't erase the fact that this shouldn't be happening. Why the fuck am I getting it out of video memory to try to allocate a texture? Why does the game have to quit out on that? Which also shows that the game was not properly created. This trilogy was clearly made in a hurry. And it's irritating. And it's not just textures that happen with this either. This happens with other issues that it's trying to allocate too. In that, where is it? They said on the patch notes that they fixed an issue where the prompt error out of video memory trying to allocate a texture, blah, 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 had been fixed. It has not been fixed. It still happens, and it pisses me off. Because I wouldn't be so bothered if this wasn't part of the patch notes and it's still something that they had to fix. I would be annoyed, but at least I would know that, yeah, they'll probably just try and fix this, whatever. But the fact that they said that they fixed this issue and it's still happening is ridiculous. It happened on 3 occasions, twice going into the mall, and once after I finished a mission or I tried to start a mission. It just said error out of video memory and then gone. You'd think that the Xbox One X could run this, at least. But for some reason it doesn't. In fact, the fact that this is happening on Xbox Series X and not Xbox One X is ridiculous in and of itself, because that thing, the Xbox Series X, is inarguably the most powerful video game console you can buy right now. Compared to the PS5, it is more powerful. It can do 4K 60. The fact that this game struggles to run at 30 is a testament to how badly optimized this game is. This whole trilogy, for example. So the memory bug is starting to bug me, so to speak. It is really, like, it forces a habit on me now. A habit I don't want to have to keep doing, because this is 2021. We're nearly coming into 2022, and I shouldn't be doing this on modern platforms with games that are released now. I shouldn't be doing this, and what I'm talking about is forcing myself to go to save the game just in case this bug happens again. Which means I have to stop what I'm doing, drive all the way to the safe house, save it, and then continue, hoping that it doesn't crash. And I also think that turning the game on from sleep mode, or instant on, or whatever it's called, is also a factor. Like, or running an app in the background. For example, I've been doing a lot of the side missions in Vice City, and I've been listening to podcasts while I do it, and I use the Xbox's Spotify app to do that. I use the Xbox's Spotify, which means it comes through the TV. I control my phone as a remote for that, and it just makes it all the more convenient. I like to run Spotify when I'm doing side shit in games, especially Grand Theft Auto, because I know those games inside out. I don't really need to listen to any dialogue, apart from the main story. It doesn't bother me. So, the fact that I can't even do that because it can't handle it is ridiculous. I mean, if The Witcher 3 can run as well as it does, if that thing can run at 1440 60, how well that game looks. If Red Dead Redemption 2 or whatever can run at 60 frames per second on 4K on Xbox Series X, what the fuck is wrong with this? You know? Glaring problems that shouldn't be there. Like, the memory problem, like, never in my life, never in the, how many years? 098765, and the fucking 10 years or less that I've owned an Xbox One. When did it come out? 2013. I've had it since 2014. So you're talking 13 years we're coming up to now. Yes, 13 years. In the 13 years that I've owned an Xbox One, I have never seen that message come up for anything. And I've ran streaming services while listening to Spotify or whatever the fuck. I've had things run in the background on that console. Even on the original Xbox One, the launch model, never had that problem. Like, of all games that on paper should cause the Xbox to have memory crashes, the aforementioned Witcher 3, Forza, like in more other graphically and mechanically intense games, a remaster of mobile ports of 20-year-old games makes little to no sense. Like, the games are clearly badly optimized. So, while I still am enjoying Vice City, I am enjoying my time with it, it's starting to feel like I'm just going to play this and complete it and be done with it. And that feels like that's all I'm doing now. I'm enjoying my time with it, but it feels like I'm just filling a quota. You know, I'm just getting the game done now. Because after I'm done with Vice City, I don't think I'll move on to San Andreas until there are more patches. And how long that'll take remains to be seen. But I've seen San Andreas, like, I've beaten it many times, and I am in no hurry to jump back in, so I'll happily wait. Because San Andreas appears to be the one that has the biggest problems. It has the most issues. Because I suppose it is the biggest game, it's the bigger of the three. Like, I'm enjoying these games for the most part, but I can understand why people are looking for refunds. I get it. Especially those that only have limited amounts of money to spare on games every so often. I can understand how that would be a frustration. Someone like me who just buys games for the fucking hell of it. Granted, I haven't bought many games in a long time, but that's thanks to Game Pass and PlayStation Now. But, like, I'm not really the type of person to go getting a refund for a game that is either not working or is a little bit buggy or more buggy than it should be. I'm not the type of person to get a refund on something because I've got this optimism, this faith that I will get my money's worth. I will wait for it. I will wait for it to get patched and I will enjoy it for what it is. I'm that type of person, you know, because I'm in the grateful position. I am grateful to be in the position I am, to be able to have money to spare every time I get my wage, to get whatever it is I want to get in the time that I get paid. Most of it is spent on gaming stuff, if I'm able to do it, and I'm able to buy this and wait for it to be worth the money I paid. Because as it stands, this trilogy is not worth 55 to 60 quid or 70 quid like it is somewhere else. It's not worth that. I'll happily tell you that this game was on sale for 20 to 30 quid. I would probably still say no. Because if I knew about these bugs going in, before going in, I probably wouldn't have bought the trilogy. Because why would I buy something that's buggy? You know, that's the decision I made with Cyberpunk. I was never hyped about Cyberpunk to begin with, which is why I never bought it day one. So, but I was hyped for this trilogy. That's my own fault. I get that. That's my problem. But in regards to my opinion of this trilogy before and after it's released, you could say that I contradicted myself a little bit, but I'm going to defend myself as well. Now, here's what I'm talking about. I was defending this trilogy to no end leading up to its release. As you've probably noticed in previous 2 episodes of this podcast that I've did, I was defending this trilogy to no end. You know, complaining that, no, people just complain about this because they don't want this, they want Grand Theft Auto 6 and this isn't getting in the way. Or they don't want this because they don't appreciate the original style of the games, they just wanted a full remake. I get that some of that is probably a little bit outdated. You know, don't get me wrong, if these games were to be fully remade from the ground up, I wouldn't say no to that. I wouldn't say no to that at all. If that was announced tomorrow, I'd be like, yep, I'll pre-order that shit. I'll get in on it. Because I would not say no to that. But I won't say no to remasters of these games either. These games have barely ever been remastered. Now, don't start telling me about fucking mods. Okay, I get it. But I would prefer, like, I would prefer if real developers made these games remastered for all systems, not just PC. Like, if you are a PC aficionado and that's your jam and that's all you will play your games on, yeah, I would understand preferring to play these games with mods. I get that. That's very much available to you. You should be able to do that. Tinker with the game to your liking. I get that. But even though I do have a PC that may or may not run this fucking trilogy, it would probably cause my PC to blow up. Because even though it shouldn't, I should be able to run this trilogy on my PC at very least 1080p 30. I should be able to run this fucking trilogy on my PC. But I'm more of a console gamer. I prefer to play with a controller. I know I can do that on my PC, but I have a 4K TV, and my PC can't do 4K very well. So I get the benefit on console of playing with a controller and having them look the best possible way, at least from a resolution standard. And that's why I prefer to play console games, because it's easy, it's plug in and play for the most part, it's convenient. I prefer that. So, as a result, I don't care for mods. So I will never look for mods. So I will wait for official developers to officially remaster them and, you know, release them for consoles, because that's the only way console games are going to get anything that looks like mods, in a way. Granted, they do it properly, or they do it well, and they clearly haven't done it very well in this regard. Don't get me wrong, the games look stunning visually. The lighting effects are remarkable. Granted, the dynamic weather could do with some tweaking. The sun is a little bit out of whack. It rises in the wrong fucking position. That's a stupid issue that nobody really should be bothered by, but when you're making a game with a day and night cycle that's dynamic, you kind of need to get the sun positioning correct. Whatever though. Sun doesn't typically rise in the north. But in GTA 3 it does. Why, I don't know. But like I said, I was defending this game, this trilogy for the most part, right up until its release. And during this whole defense white knighting that I was doing, I made a meme. And I don't know if you've ever seen this meme before, you probably have. There is a meme that circulates across the internet now that's mostly aimed at people who play games or watch movies. It's called the Stop Having Fun meme, and it's made in some sort of comic strip where it shows a bunch of people gathered around a table playing a video game, and one person standing behind them talking shit about the thing they're playing. And that's basically what it is. This guy just contradicting everything about the thing that they're watching or playing, and just the whole time he's saying all this, they're just ignoring him and just enjoying what they're seeing and playing, with the end result being him shouting at them saying, "Stop having fun." And that was the meme I made in regards to this trilogy before it came out. And I'm going to open it now, see if I can find it. And I made it on Reddit. I posted it on Reddit. I think it's actually my most popular post I've ever posted on Twitter. With the second most popular being a comment that I made. I'm not going to talk about that, but you can find it if you look me up on Reddit. But on Reddit, right? So I made this meme, and it's the Stop Having Fun meme, and this is basically what it is. A bunch of people are gathered around playing the Definitive Edition trilogy. And the guy behind them is saying, "This trilogy sucks. All they did was the bare minimum. They're the same 20-year-old games with a shiny look. It's not worth $60. Why are you even playing this? They made the character models worse. Modders could have done a better job. This is a cash grab. They should have been working on GTA 6. Stop having fun, or quit having fun. And this got a lot of attention, ended up being on the hot section of the GTA Reddit page. And it got a lot of attention, got a lot of comments, a lot of people laughing at it, a lot of people saying that it's bullshit, a lot of people like... But the fact of the matter is that it got a hell of a lot of upvotes, 1,611 to be specific. That's nothing to sniff at, you know? You know, if it's funny, if it's whatever. And then some people were agreeing with it, some people were disagreeing with it, but then after the game was released, people were saying that the meme aged like milk. And that's not true. And I'll explain why. Because the meme wasn't poking fun at the expense of people complaining about bugs. It wasn't poking fun at people complaining about the state of the game after its release. It wasn't poking fun at the fact that it was made by mobile developers. It wasn't poking fun at that at all. It was poking fun at people who specifically didn't want this trilogy because they didn't remake it. It was poking fun at the fact that modders did a better job than what this remaster did. Of course they did a better job, but that's not why most people were buying this trilogy. You know, it was poking fun at people who were mad about the deliberate style that the developers went for. And the reason why it's still relevant in my books is because people are still enjoying it. People are still enjoying the trilogy. You know, it's like I could be sitting here, like I said, I had no problems for the most part playing Grand Theft Auto 3. So, say for example, I'm sitting playing Grand Theft Auto 3 and this person behind me the whole time is saying, oh, this game has this many bugs, oh, this game has that. And the whole time I'm not experiencing these bugs and I'm just enjoying myself. And then he shouts behind me, quit having fun. Still relevant. You know? They did the bare minimum. Bugs aside, yeah, big deal. It's enough. Granted, the shooting controls could have been improved a little bit, but whatever. It is what it is. It still plays better than the original games. Now, I'm not going to be objective in that. But I'm going to be subjective in this and say that the original trilogy, while objectively plays worse than how Grand Theft Auto 5 plays, it plays fine to me because it's muscle memory. You know, I'm used to holding R1 and hitting circle to shoot. I'm used to holding X to drive and pressing R1 to brake. I'm used to tapping X repeatedly to sprint. I'm used to all that. You know, I'm used to pressing L2 and R2 to cycle through weapons. I'm used to pressing L1 to change the radio station. I've got all of that memorized in my head. That's just how I just know how to play those games. Because I grew up playing them. But I won't deny that the quality of life controls that they've put in for GTA, the Definitive Edition, they work for the most part. The shooting could still use a little bit of tweaking, but for the most part, it's fine. But like I said, the meme, it hasn't aged like milk in my books. I think it's aged fine because it's still relevant. There are people who are still enjoying the games and either don't care or either are that or not bothered by any of the bugs. So the relevance is, if people are having fun and you're bothered by that, then that's your problem, not theirs. Like I keep like people have taken a step back though when I do correct them, because I made a comment on it to curb all that shit when I said, for those who are now coming in to say this aged terribly, it really didn't. I made the meme to poke fun at people who were angry at the visual choices the devs made, particularly the cartoonish nature of the three main protagonists, and the fact that people were pissed off it wasn't remade from the ground up. It was made within 2 days of the gameplay trailer being launched. Before you jump in saying there was no gameplay reveal, the gameplay trailer shows in-game footage. Do yourselves a favour and stop retroactively changing the reason for this meme being made as if it was made after the games were launched. It's funny how there were about 20 days between the last pre-launch comment and the first post-launch comment. This shows you really are just venting your frustration at the trilogy on other people. Guess what? I am enjoying it, kinks and all. And you are doing the very same thing this meme says you're doing, telling me and others like me to stop having fun. My answer? No, I will not stop having fun. I will decide if it's worth it, because I bought my own copy and I get to play it for as long as I want and whenever I want. And I'm making the decision to hold off on San Andreas until it's in a playable state. And I'm allowed to do that because I put my money on it, and that's what I'm going to do. So, yes, that was my long version. The short version, like I said, is I am enjoying the trilogy. I'm going to skip San Andreas for now. The trilogy does need a little bit of work, but it's a 70-30 split on my level of enjoyment, at the very least. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Little update on the GTA Trilogy scenarios since I made this segment. They actually did release a patch just before this episode was made, and it does fix a lot of more problems that people were having. But nothing that's not properly fixed. There's still a lot of gameplay bugs, there's still a lot of visual bugs that still need addressed, but at least they fixed the rain. You know, the rain is fixed. But like I said earlier on, I'm not going to move on to San Andreas immediately. I'm going to wait and just see what else they do to that trilogy. And it sounds fucking ridiculous that I'm having to force myself to wait on a fucking 20-year-old game, or sorry, 17-year-old game to get fixed before I go back and play it, when I've played it so many times before and it was perfectly fine. But I want to play the quote-unquote definitive versions of these games. So I want a new experience when playing San Andreas. So I want to take advantage of that. So I'm going to wait until they fix a lot of things and just hope for the best, I suppose. But I'm hearing people are a little bit more impressed with the trilogy as these bugs are being rolled out, but there's still a lot of work to do. And I also heard that they are after delaying the physical versions of these games till like later on this month. It was supposed to be out on the 7th, I think, but they've delayed it until like the 17th or something like that. I don't know, but that should give them more time to iron out more of these bugs, because they're going to want this trilogy to be bug-free, at least mostly bug-free, for the most part, like when this physical version comes out. Because nobody's going to buy it, because they're already aware of what this trilogy is, and people who are waiting for the physical edition are not going to want to buy it knowing that this game isn't really that playable. Well, it is playable, but there's a lot of issues that stand in the way of your enjoyment, depending on who you are. And I don't want that. I don't want people to experience that when this trilogy gets physically released. So hopefully they've delayed it so they can fix these games. And I wouldn't say no to them delaying it even further, to be honest, because then that gives them more time to fix it. But I don't want this to be a forever thing. Do you know? Because once this physical version comes out of this trilogy, I reckon they will stand down and stop fixing the bugs, or at least they will tone down the frequency on how many bugs get fixed once the physical editions sell. Because once the physical editions sell, they probably won't feel any reason to keep working on these bugs. And that sounds terrible, but that's the reality of game developers and game publishers. All they want is money. But take that what you will. I hope that they fix it. And I'll wait until San Andreas is relatively bug-free so that I can enjoy it without anything interrupting me. But I have heard that they've fixed a lot of things so far, but I think more needs to be fixed. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that now. So. PlayStation has been in the news recently, and it appears there is a rumour going around that PlayStation is going to change their subscription model to match that of Xbox Game Pass. Now, I'm assuming that they're talking about Game Pass Ultimate, because Game Pass in and of itself is similar to PlayStation Now. The only difference is that with Game Pass, you can download any game in the list. Any game. Whereas PlayStation is you can only download PlayStation 4 games, you cannot download PlayStation 3 games, you can only stream them. Now, this was announced about a week ago, and I'm pulling this from Eurogamer.net, and it says, PlayStation reportedly taking on Xbox Game Pass with new subscription service in spring, bundling together PlayStation Now, PlayStation Plus, and more. This is by Matt Wales. It was updated on the 3rd of December 2021, and it says Sony is reportedly working on a new PlayStation subscription service to rival Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass, which will bundle together the existing PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus as part of the multi-tier membership approach. The news comes via Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, who reports the project, codenamed Spartacus, and expected to launch in spring 2022, will provide subscribers with access to a range of both modern and classics for a monthly fee. I'm assuming he means both modern and classic games. Citing sources familiar with the project as well as documents it has reviewed directly, Bloomberg says the launch of the service will see Sony's two existing PlayStation subscription offerings, PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus, merged into a single package, with Sony retaining the PlayStation Plus branding while phasing out PlayStation Now. Currently, Plus is required to play the majority of online games on PlayStation and provides subscribers with a small collection of games each month, while PlayStation Now enables members to stream or download both recent and older titles in the PlayStation catalogue. I'm going to cut in here and say that this isn't entirely true. You cannot stream and download PlayStation 3 games, as I said earlier on. So what it should have said is that Now enables members to download PlayStation 4 games and stream either or. You know what I mean? Sorry, I'm really, really thirsty right now. Now, I'm continuing the article. It says, although details are reportedly still to be finished, Bloomberg says Sony plans to offer 3 subscription tiers for its new service. The first would be functionally identical to the existing PlayStation Plus offering, while the second would give subscribers access to a large catalogue of PlayStation 4 and eventually PlayStation 5 games. However, PlayStation Now's streaming functionality is planned to be reserved for a third subscription tier, which will also offer extended demos and a library of PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Portable games. Microsoft's own offering, Game Pass, which is available on both Xbox and PC, has continued to grow since its launch in 2017, with the company reporting over 18 million subscribers in January this year. A second subscription tier, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, was launched last June, combining Game Pass' extensive all-inclusive library of titles with Xbox Game Pass Gold. You mean Xbox Live Gold, which is required to play Xbox games online. More recently, the company has expanded its Game Pass Ultimate offering, which costs £10.99 a month compared to its £7.99 standard Game Pass tier, to include perks, access to EA Play, and streaming via Xbox Cloud Gaming. As such, Ultimate would be the closest equivalent to a third subscription tier Sony is reportedly considering. If the Spring 22 launch for Sony's reported new PlayStation subscription service proves to be true, it likely won't be too long before the company makes it official. Until then, the person that wrote this article asked Sony for comment and will continue to update the story if they hear more. In the meantime, do check out Chris Tapsel's brilliant investigation into the future of subscription gaming. Is Xbox Game Pass too good to be true? Well, that, be it as of May, yes, it is too good to be true because it's fucking amazing. I love Xbox Game Pass. I'm using it right now. I'm using it to play Telltale's The Walking Dead on Xbox One. I'm finally going back to it. I haven't played those games in about 6 years, and I only played one episode of the first chapter, so I'm getting back into that. I'm going to see if I can get through that. Well, The Walking Dead Seasons 1, Seasons 2, Michonne, and Last Frontier, or whatever it's called, is available on Game Pass. I don't think the final season is available on Game Pass, so if it's not, and I enjoy these games, I'll consider buying it. But I digress. Yeah, so PlayStation currently deciding to change up their subscription model. Personally, I think it's about time. Now, in my notes for this podcast, I originally said that I thought that they weren't clear on how we were going to play these classic games from PS1 to PSP. And I didn't read the article properly at the time before I realised that it says that it will be part of the streamable service. So it looks like you will only be able to stream PS1, PS2, PS3, and PSP games. Now, when they say PS2 games, I don't know if they're talking about the PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 4 offering, which they already have. Since those games are redone for PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 4 platform, and that they play and act as if they're PlayStation 4 games with trophy support, etc. They don't class as being actual PS2 games, even though they are PS2 games, but they've been restructured to work as if they're PS4 games. You get what I'm saying? With PS1, PS3, and PSP games, if you were looking to see if these games were going to be played natively, you need to get real. Because they've specified numerous times since the PS4's launch that it wouldn't be possible. Like, that statement was doubled down when PlayStation Now was launched and you could only stream PS3 games. When they upgraded the service to allow you to download PS4 games, they still left PS3 games as only streamable. Like, so it's likely going to be the same thing with this new service. Like, if they end up walking it back and turning it round and allow you to download PS1, PS2, PS3, PSP games, I'll be shocked. Because why would it take an entire generation plus an extra year and a half to inject this into the PS4? Like, if this was announced as a PS5 only thing, then maybe I'd back down. But the fact they've announced this service as being available on PS4 makes it 99% likely or unlikely that these games will be downloadable. So if you're excited about this new service, I hope your internet connection is good enough to stream these games, because I think, in fact, I'm pretty certain, going by what I've read here, that this is exactly what it's going to be. Nevertheless, I'll be happy if this ends up being true, because I've always said to myself that PlayStation will never have a better service than Xbox with their current model. If you're only in it for the games and the games alone, and you want the ability to stream PS3 games, then as it is, PlayStation Now is fine. But on the other hand, if you want more than that, Game Pass Ultimate is the better deal. It's €12.99 a month, and you get Game Pass and all of its benefits, Gold with all of its benefits, and EA Play with all of its benefits. All three of those services are cross-platform as well. They can be used on both Xbox Series X/S, Xbox One, and PC. Game Pass is also available on mobile using the cloud service that they recently brought in. Now, you could already use it to stream your games before, but they've doubled down on that and they've allowed you to stream Xbox Series games to your Xbox One, or at least that's what I think they're doing. So if you've got a killer internet connection and you want to play Xbox Series X games on your Xbox One, the Xbox Cloud service is the way to go. I'll be eager to see how that performs in the next few weeks if they've put in an exclusive in there that's exclusive to Xbox Series X and can only be played on Series X. I want to see if that can be streamable on Xbox One. Microsoft Flight Simulator is one that comes to mind for me initially, so I want to see how that works if that becomes available, but I digress once again. So, PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus are currently a separate service, and EA Play does not come with any of them. You have to pay separately for each service. If PlayStation want to match Game Pass Ultimate, they'll have to do everything Xbox is currently doing. And if they do that, and they have the ability to play PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5, and PSP games, as well as all the benefits of PS Plus and EA Play, as well as xCloud, cross-platform, then they'll be worthy competition at that point. So I hope it's true. I think it is, and I'm excited because I am an avid user of PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now, but it would be nice if I could pay it all in one package. So that's exciting. Let's talk about the Game Awards. So, the candidates for this year's Game Awards, or nominees for this year's Game Awards, were revealed in the last couple of weeks. And now, I don't have a horse in this race this year because I'll be honest, I don't think I played any game that came out in 2021. And if I did, I do not remember doing it because I've been actually just going through my backlog and just playing games that were released the year prior. I haven't played any new games, so looking at all these games and all these lists, I don't have a horse. I can't possibly say what I think is the better game, but I can tell you that I have seen some of the games that have came out, and I've looked at a couple of them, but I haven't played any of them, so I can't say what game plays better. But I can tell you what game looks better, or I can tell you what game might win based on the way people have been talking about all the other games. So I'll try my best to go through these, but I don't. But the Game of the Year candidates, though, I'd say it maybe slightly surprised me. But then again, I'm not sure if this is what people were expecting or if this is exactly what people were expecting. It's an odd one. But the Game of the Year candidates were as follows: It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Deathloop, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. Now, I've got a rough idea of what I think might win this, purely by, what's the word I'm looking for? Mainstream awareness alone. And that, I believe, is Deathloop. Everyone has been talking about Deathloop since it was revealed. Not everyone has been talking about the other games. Maybe Resident Evil Village, because of its namesake, like because of the name Resident Evil, that alone garners attention. So based on that, I'd say maybe Resident Evil Village might win it. It's between that or Deathloop. I'll be surprised if Ratchet and Clank wins it. I'll be surprised if Psychonauts 2 wins it. I'll be surprised if Metroid Dread wins it, and I'll be surprised if It Takes Two wins it. Because let's look at everything here. Deathloop and Resident Evil Village are the only two games out of this entire list that look quote-unquote realistic. And if the opinion of the modern gamer is anything to go by, they want realism. They want games to look realistic. They want games to look a certain way. They want games to play a certain way. Now, I understand that Deathloop is a stupid-looking game with time travel elements and all that shit, but it looks stunning. Do you know what? I'm going to walk all of that back because I'm talking out of my arse. They all look stunning. I'm just looking at them all. They all look amazing. My logic here is not valid. Absolutely not valid. So I'm going to go back and I'm just going to start again. So the candidates for this year's Game Awards are as what I mentioned. I think Resident Evil Village has it. Because of its brand, because of what it is, because it got good reviews, I think. I think it's Resident Evil Village. I think Resident Evil Village wins it this year. And I'm probably being biased of that because out of all those games, that's what I would play first. Because I was planning on playing Resident Evil Village this year, but I just didn't get round to it. But I will be playing it, hopefully after Christmas. That's normally how long it takes me to play a new Resident Evil game. So it looks good. The graphics are stunning, by the way. I'm just looking at it right now. This game is incredible looking. That engine is one of the best engines I've ever seen be used on a modern video game. And since I'll be playing it on Xbox One X, I don't know how much different it will look to the Xbox Series X / PS5 version. I'm hoping it doesn't look too different, and that the only thing that Xbox Series X has a leg on is maybe frame rate / resolution / reflections or something like that. Maybe slight texture detail, but from what I'm seeing here, it looks fine. I'm going off on one. I am sorry. I'm not very good at doing this kind of thing, especially when it comes to a list of games that I'm not familiar with. So this is probably a stupid topic. But I do have predictions on reveals. It's one of the reasons I like to watch the Game Awards. Not so much the awards themselves, but the reveals. And I read an announcement that was released on Friday, the 3rd of December, that says over half of the Game Awards 2021 will be new game announcements. And it says here by Andrew Kia on PlayStationLifestyle.net, it says, in a behind-the-scenes podcast, Jeff Keighley reveals that over half of the Game Awards 2021 will be dedicated to new game announcements. Additionally, there will be some announcements of games scheduled to release 3 to 4 years in the future. Keighley also reveals that some of the announcements were originally planned for last year's Game Awards 2020. Keighley revealed key details about the upcoming Game Awards in the second episode of the official behind-the-scenes podcast on Spotify. As Reset Era user Modus transcribes, there's some pretty important information about what fans can expect at the event. Most notably, the previously teased double-digit new game announcements will make up over half of the event, with the rest likely to be relegated to existing game announcements and musical performances. Specifically, Keighley predicts that at least 2 games will highlight the capabilities of the next-gen consoles. He also reveals that the first new trailers of the event will include surprises that will make people excited. Furthermore, some of the games that will be announced at the Game Awards were apparently supposed to be revealed during last year's show. Keighley states that this year's show is also later due to the pandemic, but that next year onwards will be very busy. This year's show won't be perfect, however. Some of the announcements will also be for games that won't release anytime soon. Keighley even says that fans might be disappointed at the absence of certain games. Furthermore, Keighley states that many of the new game reveals will involve trailers with CGI graphics and will be likely the same amount as last year's event. He specifically mentions Hellblade 2's reveal trailer, stating how fans will likely compare it to new gameplay footage. Whether this means that Hellblade 2 will appear at the Game Awards is not confirmed. He also added that the team is working to find the right balance between gameplay, trailers, and CGI footage. The Game Awards 2021 will air on December 9th, 2021, and that was pulled from Reset Era. I've got a few ideas of what I think might show up as new announcements for the Game Awards, but I couldn't be too certain. So I pulled this from WePC.com, and then I've got my own announcement prediction on top of that. So this prediction list comes as follows. They think that Digimon Survive will be announced and possibly will be released sometime early next year. But apparently this game was supposed to come out before the end of this year, and it doesn't look likely. And they also said that it was rated, which means it's probably coming out really soon. And what is Digimon Survive? Is this a new Pokemon-style RPG? Oh, it's a visual novel game with survival strategy role-playing elements. Okay. I'm down with that. Although, looking at the screenshots, yeah, that looks pretty good. Oh, it looks like one of those games. What do you call it? What is that game? The Banner Saga. Is it like that? Visual novel game. The Banner Saga is definitely one of those. I'm nearly certain. I'm going to find out. Banner Saga's not showing up here. Well, Ace Attorney, that's definitely one. I got a rough idea of what a visual novel survival strategy role-playing game is. What a strange mix of genres, but I'm in for it. I'm all in for it. Like, so it was supposed to come out at the end of this year, but now it's coming out next year, and it doesn't appear to be coming out natively to any of the next gen consoles. It appears to only be focusing on its release on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Now, obviously, if you get the PlayStation 4 version, I'm sure it's going to be, yeah, when you get the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One version, you can play it. Sorry, heartburn. You can play it on Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. So it is going to be forwards compatible or backwards compatible, whatever the fucking way you want to look at it. Banjo-Kazooie! According to this, it says there have been some rumours posted on sites like Reddit that Double Fine are working with Rare on a new entry in the Banjo-Kazooie series for a 2022 release. For a while. This one says here, take this one with a grain of salt as we've nothing concrete, but a lot of other things from the same leaker turned out to be true. So we'll still give this one a bit of time in the spotlight. And they reckon that it's either going to be a remake or a third game. And the rumours that were posted on Reddit come in the form of a... Jesus Christ, this is huge. I'm not reading all of that. But apparently this was a rumour that was posted last year. Basically, Banjo-Kazooie is rumoured to be getting a new installment. And I wouldn't say no to that. I've played Banjo-Kazooie before. I didn't play much of it, but I played a good bit of it. This was via the Rare Replay collection that came out on Xbox One about 6 or 7 years ago. And I really enjoyed my time with it. I didn't play all of it. I didn't get to beat it. Something else must have came in and distracted me away from it. But I must go back to it. I respect Banjo-Kazooie, despite how old it is. I do respect it. I'm not a massive fan of 3D platformers. But I respect them because they are fun, they are addictive, they are very well made. And I'm hoping that they do continue the series. Because Banjo-Kazooie is good. I'm stuttering to say Bioshock because Bioshock Isolation is one of the predictions here on this list. As is Ken Levine's next game, which was also mentioned earlier. Sonic Frontiers. This is a new installment announced or rumoured for in the next Sonic franchise. Apparently, Sonic Frontiers is going to be a complete revamp of the Sonic franchise in terms of genre, at least, I'm imagining. But nobody knows. We don't know if it's going to be a classic side-scrolling game like Sonic Mania or just a continuation of what we've seen before. But there have been leaks that suggests that this game will be more open world. And I wouldn't say no to that, but how would that work? How would an open world Sonic game work? And I don't mean open world as in Sonic Adventure where it had open world hubs. I'm talking about a fully fledged open world game that's similar to all the other open world games like Skyrim or Breath of the Wild or Far Cry or anything like that. Just a game where you can explore the entire map freely without any obstructions, any limitations. I'm curious to see what they would do that with. I mean, Sonic has been needing an overhaul, arguably since Sonic 2006. It has needed an overhaul for a long time. They tried with the likes of you can see with every Sonic game that has come out, they have tried to inject something unique to the franchise, but when you just pull away all the layers and you get down to the core of it, it's the same goddamn game. It's got the same gameplay elements, it's all the same. Nothing's changed. They put little gimmicks here and there just to make it a little bit different. That's why Sonic Generations and Sonic Forces are somewhat outliers in this. Why they are somewhat liked by many. Because they actually did something unique with those games. They gave us 2D gameplay mixed with 3D gameplay. You know? So to see that be announced at the Game Awards would be great, because I want to see, I just want to see what they're doing with this franchise. I like Sonic, but you could say I'm a lapsed fan. I am the type of person that is very much, if it's not 2D, it's not good. And I hate to say that, but that's just the way most of us are. Most of us that grew up with Sonic either like Sonic for what it is, no matter what one comes out, or they are always disappointed when a new one comes out, and then when the likes of Sonic Mania comes out, it's the best fucking thing ever. And I'm sorry, but Sonic Mania is the best Sonic game. It's not my favourite, but it's the best one. You can't deny that. Anyway, that's enough about Sonic. Hope it gets revealed at the Game Awards, like this article appears to be hoping for as well. And then also Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. We didn't really see much of that since 2019, when it was announced for Xbox Series X. Only Xbox Series X, would you believe? It's not coming out on PS4 or PS5. So that would be interesting. I played Hellblade 2. I played it earlier this year. Thought it was fantastic. Thought the story was great. Very disturbing. Graphics were stunning, by the way. The visuals were unreal. But if you haven't played Hellblade, I'd say give it a go. I played it this year and it's fantastic. It's very story heavy, very narrative heavy. There is gameplay, there are puzzles, but they take a back seat for the most part. I mean, there is combat in the game, but it's not very frequent. And when it does happen, it's very simplified. The gameplay takes much of a back seat in this one, and it's more about the story. So if you're into narratives and stories, Hellblade is definitely one to try out. I highly recommend it. And it's also based on Norse mythology, which I'm a sucker for anyway, so I'd always go for that. And another rumour for the Game Awards, we need to see so many of these people want to see this, is a sequel to Breath of the Wild. People have been clamouring for more of this game for ages now. I mean, this was first kind of announced, was it last year or the year before? So it's been almost 2 years, I think, and nothing, or maybe a year and nothing. So we need to see something. I don't even know if it's going to be called Breath of the Wild 2. It might be called something else. But I'm hoping we see more footage of it or more details on it at this year's Game Awards. And then the last thing that these people predicted were indies. So many indies, this is. And it says here that several indie demos have been posted on the Xbox Marketplace ahead of the show, which they did a page about it earlier in the week. And you can expect to see those games there. And let's see what these indie games that these people predict. So the games are Nobody Saves the World, Mind Scanners, Treasures of the Aegean, I can't pronounce that. Aspire, Ina's Tale, Spacebot, What Lies in the Multiverse, The Darkest Tales, Raku Venture, Aztec Forgotten Gods, Josh Journey, Darkness Totems, and Outbreak Contagious Memories. These were all announced a while ago. Yeah, they all look pretty good, but there is one game that I don't even know if you could class it as indie. You probably could. Now. You know what I'm going to say. Flashback 2. This game got announced this year, and there's been nothing for it since. And I'm still waiting for more details of this game to come out. So I hope this gets lumped into all the indie game talk for the Game Awards, because I need to see more of this. I am a huge Flashback fan. It's my favourite game of all time. The fact that they've even decided to go back and make a proper sequel to this is mind-boggling. still is. So I hope that they bring something about this game to the Game Awards, at least, because I need to see more of this game, I really do. Like, what could they do? They can't make it play the same as the 2013 remake. They can't. That cannot be the way they're going to go with it. And it also can't be a 3D platformer. It can't be a 3D platformer. It needs to be 2D. They need to stick to that style. I don't know what the art style is going to be. I don't know if they'll go for a pixelated look or will they go for a hand-drawn look, similar to that of Monster World, or whatever it's called, and Streets of Rage 4. I wouldn't say no to it. I wouldn't say no to that at all, but the gameplay needs to be... It's as similar to the original Flashback as humanly possible. They need to just own the fact that it's a cinematic platformer, and they need to stick to that style. Like, I will eat that up no matter what it ends up being. So I hope that we get to see something this year. Something at this Game Awards. Like, I don't know. It's been what? May the 4th, be with you, was the last time this game got announced. And we haven't heard anything since. So I'm hoping that something gets shown. And that just about does it for this episode of the GB Gaming Podcast. Or how about this?
Oh, Peter. That just about does it.
Oh no, I lost it. I had it. It's gone again. Yes, thanks very much for watching this episode of the GB Gaming Podcast. If you want to see more, then you know exactly what to do. No, I gotta do better than that. Nah, I think that'll do. Yeah, so I guess that's it. Maybe I think I'll end it with a joke, actually. I'm going to end this episode with a joke, so here we go. A male whale and female whale were swimming off the coast of Russia when they noticed a whaling ship. The male whale recognised it as the same ship that had harpooned his father many years ago. He said to the female whale, "Let's both swim under the ship and blow out air from our air holes together, and it will sink the ship." They did that, and the ship turned sideways and sank. Soon, however, the whale realised that the sailors had jumped overboard and were swimming to the shore. The male whale got angry and told the female that they were going to get away and told her, "Let's swim after them and gobble them up before they reach the shore." The female was becoming reluctant to follow him. "Look," she said, "I went along with the blowjob, but I refuse to swallow the semen." Oh, dearie me. Dearie me. Here's another bonus one, whale related. Two whales are swimming in the ocean, a father and a son. The son turns to his father and asks, "Dad, where did I come from?" Dad replies, "My penis, son." The son says, "Oh, thanks, Dad." And the dad says, "You are welcome." Okay, that'll do. Thanks very much for taking the time to listen to this, and I'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye. Thank you for taking the time to watch or listen to this content. If you want to see more, then please check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/gamerboy. That's GAMERBHOY. Gamerboy with an H. This is the home of GB Gaming, the home of GB Reviews. Blame on that one level that killed me 68 fucking times. All just so I could get a couple of fucking letters. Just play. Ah! Right, that's it, I'm done. No. Just Rant. The Metal Gear franchise is made and owned by a scumbag company such as Konami, and it bugs me that my new love for the Castlevania franchise is somewhat diminished. And of course, the GB Gaming Podcast, available on both YouTube and Spotify. If you're a Spotify user, be sure to use the search bar and input GB Gaming Podcast. All my episodes are here, as well as SoundCloud if that's your thing. If you're a SoundCloud user, then all you need to do is visit soundcloud.com/GB Gaming. That's soundcloud.com/GB Gaming. If you like all of what I've just mentioned, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified on all future content. I'm also on Twitter. You can find all my stupid opinions if you search for me at GamerBoy89. All of my channel updates go through here as well, so if you haven't hit the bell, you can always find updates here. You don't have to do any of that if you don't want to though. If you're just a passerby, then thank you for stopping in. Don't forget to leave feedback. I'm always looking to improve on things, so don't be shy to say what you think. Once again, thank you for visiting GB Gaming, where video games come first.